Well, hi guys and gals. This is me, George, the Shade Tree Fix-It Man, and I have a quickie project to do here. We all need to have a wire wheel on a brush, on a grinder like this, and a grinding wheel. And this particular grinder I have had since back in the 70s, so it's nearly 50 years old, probably the middle 70s. Nearly 50 years old, and I'm going to start it up for you. It's always been kind of noisy. It was an inexpensive one when I bought it back then. And you can see how badly it vibrates when it's running, and how noisy it is. And you can hear a little bit of a rattle when it stops. Now this side over here is tight, has no movement at all. But this side here, hear that? The bearing inside here has gone bad. So what I'm proposing to do is to take this apart and take just this side off and see if we can find a replacement for that bearing and put this back into use. And I will be putting it to use up here in my carport, which I do a lot of my auto repairs up in here, obviously, and I do some of my lawnmower repairs. There's one there, another one there, and I got another one just outside. You can't quite see it. So, and I've been adding some more toolboxes in here, so I have enough tools up here to do most of what I need to do. So it would be nice to have a bench grinder too. I do have this one here, but this one is set up strictly for sharpening. And look at the difference. This one is not bolted down. See how quiet that is? No vibrations. It's not bolted down. It doesn't move all around. So yeah, I suppose worst comes to worst, I could put a wire wheel on here. But this has a real fine wheel here and a little bit more coarse wheel here. So it's great for doing sharpening of blades. So that's what we're about. We're going to try and make that one over there. It ain't going to be as good as this one here for sure, but we're going to try and make that one better and bring it back. So hold on to your hats. Here we go. Now the first thing you have to do is take the wire wheel off, and one side is left-handed thread, the other side is right-handed. This side is left-handed thread. And it loosens it right up just like that. And we'll take our wire wheel off just like that. And the spacer down in there. And then we have 3 Phillips screws in there. Take off. And there we go. Now we have 4 screws on here to loosen up. One, 2, 3, 4. This should come apart after here. Like I said, it's been on there for 50 years. It might take a little bit of doing to get it off of there. See if I can find some, I still haven't learned where all of my tools are since I'm just getting it set up here. There we go. Now it's starting to separate a little bit. Need a little bit of pry barge, I think, to get that off of there. I see some dirt around the edge here, so maybe we need to clean some of that dirt off before we try to slide that through the bearing. Oh, it's not just dirt, it's also paint on there. So we'll get as much of the paint off of it as we can, make it as easy on ourselves as we possibly can. There we go. And there's our bearing in there. You see that? Now I need to pop that bearing out of there and find out what for a bearing it is we need. And I'm looking at the shaft here, and I'm interested to see how much wear there is actually on the shaft itself. Because if the shaft is worn down, that could be, yeah. This bearing is frozen in here. It won't twist. That means this has been turning inside of this. And it has worn this shaft down just a little bit. But we'll see. We get this bearing pumped out of there, and we'll find out. Now I found a socket that fits loosely in there. See if I can use that to drive that bearing out. That thing ain't hardly moving. I wonder if I'm going to have to put some heat on it to get it out of there. I'm going to take it over on the ground. I'll bring it back. Hey, there we are. You can see how bad that bearing is. It's only sealed on one side, and there was no way to oil it. So I'm going to go down. I have a bunch of bearings that I've scavenged out of other things, see if I can find the right size. So let's go down together. We'll go down to the Goofy shop here and look in our stash and see what we have. Sorry for bouncing you around now, but I gotta walk, you understand? Turn on the light. Now, not that drawer. Oh, look at that drawer. Look at that collection of bearings. Look at that. There is a perfect match. As far as the outside goes, it's good there. And if I can get this set on here right, and it looks like it's a good match on the inside too. Okay, boy, this is going to be an easy fix. We're going to take that one, throw it in there. Turn off the light switch. And looking at the back of my carport here, I closed in this side shortly after I had the carport built. I'm going to close in the other side too. And yeah, I get leaves blowing in here all the time, and it's hard to keep it clean. All right now, so I'm going to clean this up a little bit before I put this bearing down back in there, and we'll get this puppy back together and see how it sounds. Hang on to your hats. Well, I was able to clean this bearing up, and worst came to worst, I could repack it with grease and use it. But because it's open on one side, I don't want to reuse it. And the first bearing that I pulled out of the drawer had a different inside diameter. This one here matches perfectly. I've tried it on the shaft, and it also fits in here. So we're going to install that in there. And we're going to take this one, and we're going to save it for future reference. You never know. So to get this back in, what we're going to do, and rather than pounding it in with a hammer, which is doable, I'm going to take a socket that will be the appropriate size for the outside of this bearing. And that one's a little bit too big. So that's, let's see what that is. That's a 30 millimeter. Need something a little bit smaller. That's 29 millimeter. It's a little bit better. I'd still like one. So I need like a 28 millimeter. I don't know if I have such a thing as a 28 millimeter. Okay, what does it say? I can't read it. There's 26. That's as big as I go in that set. And actually, 26 will work just dandy on there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put a small extension on it. We're going to put it on there like that. We're going to take it over and press it in the vise. So you can see I have my socket set up in there in my vise. And I'm sorry, I'm doing this with my phone. So I got to tighten it up so it doesn't swing on me. See if I can do this one-handed. But by cranking the vise in, it's also pushing that bearing in back in there. You see that? I'll finish that up, bring it back. Okay, so we got our bearing in. Now we're going to stick our end back on. I've cleaned it out in there a little bit. It's just a matter of giving it a little bit of tapping. Get it up in there. Okay, so I replaced the bearing on this side, and I couldn't get the one apart on this side. I figured I'd check it. It was free and clear, but it was a little bit noisy, so I injected a little bit of oil down in there. Now, I put my wire wheel on here, and it already had the grinder over here, and that thing still vibrated really bad. But look at this. Took the wheels off. A whole lot better than it was. So I'm going to put this wheel on here. This is for doing, it does cleaning and buffing. So I'm going to put that one on there. And we'll see what that one does by itself before I put another wheel on the other side. And I may, come on, left-handed thread, George. Except that's the wrong nut. Can't put a right-handed nut on a left-handed thread. There, get the right nut on there and it works a whole lot better. Let's try it with just that wheel on it. That one's not perfectly round either, but it's not as bad as it was with the buffing wheel on there. So we're going to put the grinding wheel back on the other side. And maybe I should get, I'm going to see about getting a different wire wheel, because I really need to have a wire wheel up here. Don't you know, I have one down below. So that's going to be my grinder for up here in the shop, and I think I will find a wire wheel to put over there and find one that's balanced, and maybe I can get this to center up in there better. So anyway, hope that is helpful to somebody who wants to fix their grinder. Till next time, this is George, the Shade Tree Fix-It Man, saying thanks for watching, commenting, subscribing, thumbs up, sharing, all them good things. Till next time, bye for now.